Hi, Davi here, and today we have a new episode in the art review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of Daisuke Ishiwatari. Now, thank you, by the way, for the guy who recommended this, Mr. Sheep for WX. I think you mentioned this in the Sungmoo Heo video, and if you check out this guy's work, Daisuke, that's actually the first guy I thought of. Although in the video here for the play with your line weights video on Sungmoo Heo's work, I did focus more on the inked work, but he does have a lot of renderings as well, like colored pieces, and they're very similar to, or it has the same vibe, I guess, to Daisuke Ishiwatari. I would also recommend the work of JaeKwang Park, because they have the same not style, but they do include a lot of compositional elements in their work, where it's very dynamic, and you can tell by the poses, by the perspective shots. It's a bit more exaggerated, right? So there's this page in it's like a wiki for the Guilty Gear game. I think it's a game. And so this guy apparently has done a lot of like artwork, game art for this specific game. There is a website for it. I think it's not sure if it's this one. Yeah. Now I'm not sure if I bet obviously the guy or chick who did this art for these characters are not the same as that guy. But it's sad because I don't know who actually did these artworks, but maybe the designs come from Daisuke. I'm not even sure. But if you're interested in the game, just check out this site, Guilty Gear. I'll just link it in the description below. And as we go through some of his pieces here, we'll eventually go back or go to this page. It's a how to draw illustrations, the Daisuke Ishiwatari. Why did Ishiwatari way. So he'll kind of show you a step-by-step process, and I will link this as well in the description below. So let me just get some pics here. Thankfully they do show like the size of the image, so I think that's very cool because sometimes when you look at the image page or image tab in like your web browser, like, I mean, there are settings where you can look for like wallpaper sized or large sized images, but sometimes you get like really tiny images and it's like, why even put it there, you know? So there's a ton, and this guy does it traditionally. I'm sure he has some like digital work as well somewhere, but I think a bulk of it is done traditionally. And we'll see more of that process of his in this page, but he does like using his Copic markers. It's very common. Any kind of alcohol based marker, I think it's great for rendering. I mean, Adam Hughes, he's a Western American comic book artist. He also likes using the this kind of Copic marker thing for rendering his character art. Right, so we'll just pick a few, and once you have enough, or once you see enough of his work, you can get a gist of how his style is. Lots of dynamic poses, like it's really pulled, and lots of like intersecting sort of like lines, and it's very interesting. And it's not like a one stand or one like you're just standing kind of position. It's like a poster art in a way where it's a bit more filled up. Even if you have like a white background, it looks nice because of the way the characters are. Ooh, wow, posed. So this one's bulky. Oh yeah. Okay, I think that's enough. Oh shit. Right? If you zoom in, you can really see that this thing is done traditionally. In this page, he did for the exercise there, or in this kind of example, he actually skipped the inks. He just used the pencils as the ink. Like he eventually just used a mechanical pencil to do another line over of his rougher line work, and then he scanned it, I think, or photocopied it, so it looks like an actual ink, but it's not an inked piece. Now, but for this thing though, for this specific artwork, I do think he did use some pens, some inking pens. I do love the skin tones. Like, it's not just one flat thing. There's sort of a build-up of different, like, hue variations, right? And it feels so skin-like. Like, the elbows are a bit red. The palms are more like purplish pink. Even the way the light was done here. Oh, wow. Look at this. Like, the suggestion of those knuckles and the bones kind of connecting those knuckles to the wrist, right? And the anatomy isn't always right, but I think that's something that gets in our way, because if you look at a lot of professional artists, their anatomy isn't even perfect. So I don't understand why we're so fixated with trying to get everything right. Remember, you can pull things, exaggerate things, and even break rules to make it look interesting. And oftentimes, I think that's what's more important. It's not so much about being right, but being sort of what's the word? Is this a dragon? It looks like a dragon of some kind. It has glasses. Are those feet? Wait, they look a bit too young, so let me just not comment on that. They look like elves. Is this like a Christmas themed thing? Because I can see red, white, and green. But again, if you look at the perspective, look at how it's so pulled or skewed. It's like a Kim Jong-gi sort of a fisheye piece. Now this one does have way more ink. Is it ink? I do think it's pencil. Yeah, I think you have to do this traditionally with the photocopier. So eventually the pencils will, if you do it enough times, it will look like ink, because especially if it's like a high contrast scan, like all of your lighter line works will eventually disappear, and really only your bolder lines will remain. And that's what will look like or suggest that sort of inked look. Now this one's too small, 425 by 600. I'm not bothering. Oh shit, was it? I think there were other sizes. I'm not even sure. You know what? Fuck it. I'm here now. Oh, so this one is a digital piece. You can tell, but it still has that same. If you zoom out, it still has that compositional vibe to it. And not many texture brushes. It's the same thing for a traditional look or traditional like drawings or illustrations. The only texture that's really there is the texture from the paper, and maybe from the pencil marks. So I don't think this guy is a painter so much, but he's more of a draftsman, more of a drawer kind of guy. But he can paint, obviously he can render. But I think he shines more with the drawings and the composition. I mean, obviously the renderings are nice, but I think that the base, his strongest base, is his draftsmanship and his compositions. Oh, I think this one is also digital. Now this one seems a bit more, lots of soft light. I see it a lot in anime, and it looks good. It has that realistic vibe to it, right? Because obviously if you add soft light, it's, you know, it looks like it's like the sun is hitting the thing that has that soft light, right? And it just softens a lot of the hard edges that I can't talk today. It softens a lot of the hard edges that you typically use. Don't overdo it though, because it can be a bit much. But if you zoom in, you know, I like how they leave out, or leave in rather, the the drawing or the pencil strokes or the ink strokes. I mean, yeah, would it be better if it's painted over? Sure, but there's a certain like rawness to it, right? Like even if for example, the hair is painted, I mean, you have all of the effects and everything, but they still chose to leave in rather those lines. It just adds a bit of that natural feel. Interesting. And some of his pieces like this, they look like card designs. Right? Oh, it looks like an Art Nouveau kind of piece. If you look at any kind of Art Nouveau, like classical Art Nouveau artwork, it does have this vibe where the background is somewhat decorated, somewhat flat, but it has a lot of like ornamentations, and it looks like it could be an art for, you know, one of those like card games, or something of that nature. Right? I think a lot of the texture is just from the paper. Was this done traditionally? I think so. And it's a scan maybe. It looks nice though. Oh, I love those gloves. I mean, not just the gloves, but you know, obviously the shorts. Oh my god, she's kind of undressing herself here. Oh my god. With the vest, look at those folds. They're so sexy, right? Man, this guy even spent time doing the zippers. You know, those teeth. Damn. And you have to be careful because especially when you're doing the skin, look at how minimal those lines are for the arms. Like pretty much everything for the legs, the hands. You have to be very careful when doing the inks, because if you overdo it, for example, you can see the flowers here. There's a bit more shading that's happening. You can see those line strokes. But for the body here, for this chick, it's very minimal. And I think because you want the render, or this guy wants the rendering to be done more in or with the Copics. I think this is Copic, right? I can't even, is this traditional? It looks like it was done traditionally. Yeah. I guess if you're gonna render, try to render things in one major way. So if it's gonna be with this sort of marker look, then stick to that as the main thing and make the others somewhat minimal. I do see a bit of gradient here. Is this like a color pencil thing? Right? It goes from light to dark. Or is it just marker? You do have to zoom in though to be able to see this. Oh, I love this. So hot. Anyway, moving on. Let's zoom in on this guy. Ooh. These scans, by the way, I think these are scans. They're great. I'm not sure what kind of paper they're using. It's such a cool, clean rendering. Oh my god, looks like a Final Fantasy sort of a, where it has that vibe, like the facial features, the hair design. Oh, look at the character design of this red guy. Lots of zippers. Oh, those folds are amazing. I like it. Man, those eyes for both of these people, the blonde and the redhead, oh my god. And again, if you zoom out, it looks like a card design, right? Like a poster. See, even without the background, even if it's just white, the composition of all of these characters and these other design elements, it's kind of like a tattoo art piece too, right? This one's more of a straightforward sort of presentation. yeah, again, zoom in. What the hell is this texture coming from? Or where is it coming from? From what kind of paper? That's a very sort of it's almost like a half-tone thing. Or maybe it's just the scan, I don't know. It's hard to see the rendering here. Ooh. Can we zoom in here? Ah, it's too tiny. Let's find a different one. Oh yeah. Damn. Wait. I do notice a couple of things. He does like to exaggerate the size of the hands and the feet. If you check out his work, aside from the obviously the really pulled like dynamic poses and compositions, the hands and the feet are kind of really enlarged for some reason. But I like how it's illustrated. He just knows where to put the lines. Look at the palm of this hand. Look at how many lines you have to put in. Obviously, in contrast to say the the arms and the legs, there's way more. It's like each finger is its own arm, right? If you look at this hand and this feet, oh, look at those dogs. Barf, barf, barf. Yeah, I do like the Copic rendering. It's just very classic, very classic. Although when they did it, or when I used to try to do it, it was very hard for me to do like a soft edge with a marker. I think you would need some kind of a special paper to be able to blend things out that way. And like, how do you stop bleeds from happening? Like when you end the marker stroke, for me it would always bleed. Maybe it's because my paper was just too thin. So maybe you would need like a really kind of thick or special kind of paper that can handle alcohol-based inks. Ugh. Obviously the face is nice too, right? It's so well rendered. Look at that. Oh my god, look at that heel. Oh. Anyway, moving on. Oh yeah. Look at this. So I'm not sure what's happening here. Did she just kill someone? Again, the hands enlarged. Oh my god, so dumb. So she's kind of like a demon chick, maybe. I do see some crosses here, so there's like some religious sort of references here. Interesting. Look at this. There's a skull on this sort of scythe. Is it a scythe or scythe? Scythe. Communism. But yeah, again, minimal. Look at how look at the line work. Very minimal. The rendering is mostly done with the markers. Oh my god. These ones do have hands. Oh, I do see more shading with either inks or pencil. Right, you can see more line work in the shadow areas. Usually in the past, stuff we've seen is usually left or done with the marker. But I mean, in this part, it's done with the marker. But in this side, you do see more of that line work. And it's not very consistent, you know, it's kind of sketchy, but I like it. Maybe the noise texture was added after, or maybe this is just one of those, you know, if you scan something, like that whole process will sort of generate its own texture, right? Especially when you do things traditionally and scan things. And I like how the art or the line work isn't always, it's not super tight. There's a bit of looseness there. I mean, you do have to be careful, say, with the face. Oh my god. Her like milkers are out. Oh yeah. And sometimes you go back and forth with one line, and you know, it happens. Sometimes you overshoot, like as you can see here, but it's okay. You know, It's not that bad. So if you're the perfectionist type, just check out this guy's work, Daisuke. I mean, is this a bad piece? It's not. Oh, and that hand. Oh, again, he's really good with the hands though. And again, it's not enlarged. I think it's just foreshortening here. And I like the face, the way he draws the face. Oh my god, like she's grabbing my fucking balls, just crushing them. Oh shit, I think she's about to remove her freaking shoes, or maybe she's about to wear her boots. A bit more sketchy, way more line work scene, but again, it's a traditional piece. But again, if you look at the way he draws, like are those her panties? Oh my god. Like, is the perspective perfect? I don't think so, but that's something that I've been learning the past few like art reviews. Like, it's about the story. Sometimes, yes, it's about the rendering, like really putting out a solid, like well done illustration, and that's cool. But also sometimes it's not about that. It's about the story. It's about the emotion. I think I talked about this in a previous art review too. Meerkat Day, I think that's the artist I reviewed. Not much rendering in their work, but there's a story behind it, right? And that's what's behind their artwork. It's not perfect, it's not like fully painted, but it still makes you want to look because there's something behind their work. Oh yeah. Again, look at those hands, so big. I'm not sure what this white is. Gouache. Damn, look at those fingers, like the way they're just positioned, very dynamic as well. It's not just the whole figure, but the hands. Like even the hands have their own pose, right? And you can tell, you can contribute to the story by how the hands are somewhat positioned. Oh yeah, so it's the wizard magician chick. We've seen her here and here and here. Oh yeah. And I think her main weapon maybe is a guitar. So a wizard guitarist with some nice. Yeah. Oh, I skipped one. Who is this chick? So more of a Japanese inspired, like samurai chick. Oh yeah. Stop. Look at this. You're seeing this from the backside, and I think this guy's being bitten by some kind of eel or dragon. I like the hair though. Ooh. I do notice he likes to shorten the limbs a bit, like the arms and the legs, but for the feet and the hands, he likes to really make them do something, right? Interesting. Look at those hands. Like, if you need to get good at hands, check out Daisuke. Sadly, he doesn't have as much feet, but I bet you if he really tried, he would be unstoppable, right? Oh shit, we have to go back to the freaking, like, this. So let me just finish up with these ones. Same thing here. The background is not as... It's pretty empty except for the foreground, but... Again, the hands. Look at the pose, very dynamic. It's really pushed out, right? Oh, look at this jacked. Freaking. I'm not sure what this is. Are these bullets? And maybe this is some kind of gun, who knows? Look at those arms though, like freaking, ugh. He looks like a freaking Hulk. Fucking jacked. I like the rendering. Again, marker, I'm assuming. Oh yeah? This one's more peaceful. A very cute kind of sketch. Oh shit, it's Chad. So he just killed some kind of like reptilian thing, dragon thing. Look at how the cape works with the composition. Like it goes around and envelops the whole figure of this guy. Oh, look at those legs, those muscles. Oh, freaking muscular. Ooh, look at those shoulders, those delts, those biceps, and those forearm muscles. Like it really, oh. Damn. Freaking like, oh. Again with the enlarged hands. Interesting. I like it. Okay, so let's go back here to the main thing. Or this so let's just read. So nice to meet you. I am Daisuke of Arc Systems Works Incorporated. For the publication of this revised edition of the Guilty Gear X art book, I am embarrassed to show you, the readers, how I work when I draw illustrations using Copic markers. I usually draw illustrations of people for video games and rarely draw backgrounds. So for the illustration of May that I prepared for this project, I was allowed to draw the background for the first time in a while. Although I did not put much effort into it, I think it's a good piece overall. I am also very grateful that I was able to reconfirm my own work process and gain a sense of satisfaction from illustrating through this project. Now that I am more aware of myself as an artist, I would like to draw illustrations with more enthusiasm, and I look forward to your continued support. And that's often a very common thing when you try to teach someone, like you end up learning more about it. And I think teaching is a way of learning. So even if you don't understand something, if you just try and teach it, like you're forced to break down something, and it's through that process of breaking down things for the aim of simplifying that information for someone else. That's where you really sort of get to see what your process is. So it does start out with scanning the figure. So let's go through this quickly. I did sort of skim through it before I started this art review. So then he sketched the frame. Sometimes I'm not sure if it does it on the new. Maybe if you want to see in detail, I will link this page or book. So it's all pencil work, and it does separate some background elements from the main figure. And then obviously doing this traditionally, you can apply some of these concepts in 2D, in digital 2D. Obviously you can just use layers for this one. So he does overlay the frame with the figure, right? So it's this foreground sort of design element. And you'll see, we saw some of this sort of stuff in his in the past sketches or drawings we've seen. So he does some fixing for the figure. Maybe this is on a different page, more of a layout. And yeah, this is the one I was referring to earlier, using a copying machine to create a pseudo pen ink effect. So basically it has something to do with it's basically turning your line work through high contrast. Maybe you can play with the settings of your copy printer, or you can do this in Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint, where all of your lighter lines will disappear eventually, and only the more darker solid lines will remain. So you still have to draw over your rough sketch, but it has to be just more defined and less. If you're gonna use light line work, understand that it's going to disappear when you up the contrast, right? So he was able to kind of skip that step of inking. And what's cool is you can always erase pencil, right? With inks, I mean, you can use like a whiteout, but it's hard to kind of draw over it once you have that whiteout. So I do recommend trying this out. I mean, I've been seeing a couple of tutorials too online on YouTube where people say, you know what? You don't actually have to use inks or inker work, especially when it comes to like anime art or even like comic art. Although I've seen more tutorials on this when it comes to like anime, manga style types of artwork, and you don't need to. For some, it's sort of it's part of their style, but if you think it's not working for you, then just try to do a pencil sort of like a tighter pencil layer where you draw over your rougher pencils, but you keep that sort of sketchy, rougher look or pencil look, and it works. You know, it sort of blends easier as well with your rendering, I think. So coloring the contours, so you will see him start rendering from the lines, the contour lines, right? And then he'll shade, and I think he's really starting again from those edges out to in, and then he'll add the base, although he will still leave some whites, you can tell, so he won't render everything. He will utilize the white from the page or from the paper. Coloring the base tones, I think, for the background, maybe. Texturing the hair. Most of this is done with Copics. I know some people like to add texture with some colored pencils. Adding texture to clothes. You know, there's lots of books out there on how to render with markers. Now, I do recommend you check out like fashion books or product design books. They do have a lot of those things, or architectural rendering books. I was really into like the marker sort of look back in college, and I think it has influenced my work a bit. I'm not sure how, but it's definitely something that's inside me. Oh yeah. So he does the background, and then he will work, or he then worked on the foreground frame. Then he adds texture. Oh, look at that! Look at the skip. Right, it's all like flats, referring to the frame. And then next page. Look at that! It looks so like 3D now. Right? Ooh. I think these are all Copics, right? Oh my god. And he does look at photos of reference materials and interiors on his computer, right? So don't be afraid to use reference photos, right? Coloring the eyes, so he does that last, interestingly. Then the sofa, and then emphasizing the lines. How does he do that? Copics again? He does it with Copics. Yeah, so the photocopied lines are the main lines, right? So the texture of the pencil is strong and the lines are often blurred. I reinforce them with something like a Copic rotring pen. Oh, so he does go with some ink sometimes. It may be hard to tell, but for example, I used the 1.0mm diameter pen for the outline of the frame section, okay, to make the lines appear thicker. Rotring is a brand and not the type of pen that Copic makes. I think Daisuke may be referring to Rotring rapidograph pens and used Copic as a shorthand for fine liner. Okay. You know, Copic does have fine liner pens too, and I'm familiar with Rotring. You know, it's more of it's known for like architectural, engineering, sort of those types of pens. There's a couple. Again, Copic has those pens. There's Unipin. I think you have some Staedtler pens too. Staedtler. Unipin was more. I think Unipin is by Mitsubishi. I'm not sure. Anyway. And then reinforcing the details. Oh yeah, so he does use colored pencils to reinforce the texture of details. So to brighten the highlights of the sofa by layering them on top of each other. Also on the frame and on the fabric of the outfit and the edges of the furniture. So it's often done last, so that's good. Finishing the highlights with white. So white correction fluid was also used. Oh. I painted the glass and metal edges of the wall hanging. But I regret a little that the white was too strong and lost a sense of distance. Yeah, because if it's too thick, it's going to look so close. But if it has to be like really delicate if it's far away, because if it's so far away, if the subject is far away, but the white ink or the brush stroke is too thick, it's going to make it appear closer, which will contribute to your piece looking a bit flat. So something to consider. Finally, I put a little light on in the eyes to complete the picture. I hope this explanation of my art process came across well. So I do recommend you read the whole thing if you're interested. Although you will benefit more if you're more of the traditional type, but even if you're doing digital art, I think you will still gain something because we do use layers, we do use some kind of process ourselves. So, yeah, and that's why he does have like a lot of consistent looking work, is because he has his own process. And maybe try to break down your own process so you can really learn about it even more, and you'll be able to tweak things and improve your own process by trying to sort of teach it. You don't have to actually teach it, but if you just try to break it down to a more simplified way, just write down what the steps you typically take for your work, and then I think you can, make those adjustments that need to be made. So that's it for this art review of Daisuke. I will link all of the links in the description below, and yeah, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.